Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Immigration and Jobs Talk Show. So good to have you back. And I'm very excited to have another session now because this is going to be a little different. I'll tell you more about it. But before I go to it, I have this very important disclaimer, and that is by watching our videos, you agree and understand that the information provided by our experts and attorneys, including comments and replies from users, is not legal advice. Use of information is at your own risk. Friends, I am Nipasa Pradhan, and I'm going to be your host for this session today, which is going to be very interesting and different, like I was telling you a little earlier. So, we are going to be joined by not only, if you can see our topic for today, it is F1 visa approved after 221G refusal and a student success story. So, it wouldn't be complete without the student himself joining us. So, definitely, we are going to have Karan join us. So I think let me just introduce you to Karan and our guest for today. So without further ado, please help me welcome Yvette from Udeti Visa Expert and also Karan. Thank you so much for joining us, both of you.
Yeah, thank you for having us.
So good to have you. So Yvette, you've already met her earlier, and she is a visa expert currently with Udeti and ex-US consular officer. So it's really good to have you with us, Yvette, after a real long time.
Thanks. I'm really happy to be here. Excited for this story.
Me too, me too. So how is it today to see Karan maybe after a while? I think you're seeing him today, is it?
Right. So Karan had a 221G refusal, and we worked together to face the subsequent visa interview. So it's been a little bit of time since we connected, but I really liked his story, which he'll tell. And I thought that viewers may also benefit from his journey, the time spent in the United States, especially how he navigated things.
Absolutely. So, friends, Yvette is former US diplomat and founder of Udeti Visa. And if you want to book a consultation, you can already see on top of the screen that you can use IT people to get a 15% discount. So, let me tell you that already before we go on ahead with our session. Also, our guest, Karan, very good to have you. You are going to be one of the first, who is going to be here to share your story with us, your success story. So I'm very excited for today's session. And Karan is a student who faced significant hurdles, and he emerged victorious on his journey. So we will unfold his story as we get to know him better. But I think, yes, Karan, we would love to know you more. So where are you from? What do you do? How you got into thinking of studying abroad, even? And yeah, let's get to that first, at least.
Yeah, thank you again. Thank you for having me here. And then thank you, Yvette, for thinking about this and just bringing us all together. So happy to be here. My story actually goes back to like when I was in my 10th standard, like just like any student, I was pushing hard to get good grades, like trying my best to like make sure that I'm like doing everything I can from an extracurricular standpoint, but also in classes. But to everybody's surprises, I actually ended up like getting the highest score in my
Ooh.
entire district and also my school. And honestly, for me, like that was a really, really big confidence booster because I always knew that I had it in me, but I didn't get that backing from other people. And also, just like nobody really had that support to my end until I actually did it. So I feel like 10th standard was kind of like when I was like, okay, I can do anything I want. I'm able to like accomplish anything I want to do in my life. And then just getting that boost, whether it's from my marks or like from the boards, like just in general, I thought that was a pretty big confidence booster. So after that, I
Mhm.
went ahead and like studied, finished my high school. As I was like graduating from my high school, I realized like I'm very interested in like working with others. Like I really enjoy engineering and also enjoy like just computers in general. But that
Mhm.
at that point I was thinking like, okay, what should be the next move for me? Like if I want to like go study in India, if I want to study in abroad, I looked into a lot of different options. And actually somebody, one of my seniors in my school, ended up applying to a US university. And at that point in Punjab, so I come from a very small town in Punjab near Jalandhar. So at that point, like most of the people, most of my friends were like looking into Canada or UK or other countries. But I always knew that US is the place where you get the best education, the best opportunities, and also just um, knowing so much about the Western culture, I was always intrigued by it. So I think just like having that senior who applied to the US university really helped me figure out kind of that path. So once he did it, I talked to him and understood like what it takes, like what are the exams you gotta take, like SAT, ACT, how do you build your profile, how do you write your essays, the recommendation
Mm.
letters, and all of that stuff. And then after actually my 11th standard, I started preparing to just apply for my undergrad in the US. So before I even finished my high school, I already had like admits from some of the top schools in the US for my undergrad. And then after a lot of different factors that went into my like decision making, I ended up going to Miami University and I did my bachelor's in software engineering with a co-major in business analytics.
How interesting and how inspiring. Very nice. And you were so focused already from a very early age, and you just knew what you wanted to do. So I think things were much clearer for you in your head, and therefore much easier to proceed, I guess. But lovely, lovely. I mean, to get to know more about you, and also that, coming from a small town in Punjab, Jalandhar, and then, pursuing an F1 visa at Miami University. Maybe you could tell us about some of the key challenges you faced initially. But before that, maybe how did you get in or come across Udeti? And how did you think that you want to pursue consulting about your visa with them?
Sure. So I actually got to know about Udeti very recently when I was applying for my visa renewal for my master's program, which is at Northwestern. So I went to Miami University. I graduated in 2021, and then I worked in the US for 3 years. And then recently, I came back to India to renew my F1 visa, and I'm going to be pursuing a master's in at Northwestern. So I got to know more about Udeti to actually two resources. One of them was like another YouTube channel, and I saw a similar video where people talked very highly about Yvette and Udeti in general. And then somebody in my network from New Delhi recommended Yvette and Udeti's services to me. And um, I feel like that just 30 minutes of conversation with Yvette and just knowing more about Udeti just really changed my visa experience and just gave me that boost that I needed when I was like actually appearing for my visa interview. As
Mhm.
Yvette started, like I had a little bit of a unique case. So for me, I was just looking for that confidence, honestly, just somebody saying that it's going to work out and just somebody knowing that my case is a little bit unique, but it's not like something that's impossible for me to actually end up getting that visa. So long story short, I talked to Yvette and I went for my visa interview and I ended up getting my visa approved. So it was a very, very beautiful, stressful journey that ended up being a very happy journey. So I'm really happy to be where I'm at and looking forward to joining Northwestern soon.
Very great. Me too. And Yvette, what do you have to say? What do you have to say about working with Karan? How was the whole thing? And yeah,
So
after that, I'll ask my second question.
right. So Karan, obviously was very motivated, ended up going to Miami University in Ohio. And then after that, he will talk about the time he spent on OPT. So when he went for his visa renewal, the consular officer has noted that he was in the US for undergrad and then OPT. That's quite a long time. So that's why the consular officer called him in for a interview. And you always have to be careful when you go into an interview after spending such a long time in the United States and just not be nervous and be prepared. I think that
Mhm.
he had a good shot, regardless of who he consulted with, because he was going to Northwestern. However, you can never be too careful after spending so long in the United States. So he just took the extra step of preparing. His answers were quite good. but I just helped him clarify them a little bit so that the consular officer understands his journey very quickly and that there's no obstacle for him to get that visa renewal. So that's a little bit from my end, but I'll let him continue on his journey in the United States. I'm sure our viewers have some questions about that too.
For sure, for sure. But before we get to them, maybe if you would like to talk about a few common reasons, why maybe students like Karan might face like a 221G during their F1 visa renewal, even after, having a strong profile.
So if you were in the United States and you were going for a renewal and there is a clear reason, for example, on your I-20, it mentions that you have an OPT employer and you're going for a renewal during an appropriate time frame, like they just finished their
Mhm.
master's program, they just finished their bachelor's program, now they're going for OPT. I can see the progression clearly. Most of those applications will get approved. But in Karan's case, he went to Miami University, did OPT, and was trying to go to a completely different master's program. So it required more of an explanation. It was a more unique situation. So you get called in for an interview when you submit for interview waiver if there's any question about your case. It doesn't necessarily mean that you're going to get refused or there's a red flag. You can get called in if the consular officer even has a slight question. The question could be, I wonder what his grades were in undergrad, because I wonder how he used his visa. Did he use it well? I want to ask him. I want to talk to him. So maybe they didn't necessarily see any red flags, or maybe they did. But for 221G, any question, any even minor thing, the consular officer will call you in for an interview. They're not going to take any chances, and there's no way for them to get their questions answered without calling you in for an interview. And we can talk about a little bit more about 221G later, and even some questions that you could expect at the visa window. Maybe Karan didn't get all the questions, but I can cover in more severe cases if the consular officer is approaching you with a lot more doubt. You never know. If the consular officer could be like, okay, you're going to Northwestern, awesome. Or the consular officer could really press you and want to know so much more. And so I can tell you those questions in a more worst case scenario. So we can talk about that a little bit later.
Cool. That will be very helpful, Yvette. I'm looking forward for that too. And my next would be for Karan. Karan, if you could just tell us, some of the key challenges you faced initially, maybe just to start off, and then we'll go on to a few odd questions from our folks out there who have dropped their questions. Thank you so much. Just stay with us.
Yeah, for sure. So again, as I said, like just coming from a small town itself, like you always have that like mentality of like being an underdog. So I feel like I always had that mentality, but I was always hungry for more. So as soon as I reached in the US in 2017, I kind of had to figure out like the culture. I was also very young, had to like get used to a new place. Definitely felt homesick a little bit in the beginning, but again, as soon as I kind of like got done with that whole mentality, I just went straight in, like heads deep into like everything that was given to me. Like so many different opportunities at Miami University of Ohio. So many different things that I did like while at school, whether it was like being a resident assistant on campus, supporting the well-being of other students on campus, being a teaching assistant, learning from the best in at Miami University. Um, like going for different conferences, and I also just thought like there were so many different like challenges just like along the lines with like COVID. Nobody expected a pandemic in 2020, so I had to like figure out how do I stay safe and how do I like maintain my well-being. And then also as I was like going through my career and just like towards graduation, I was looking into like what do I want to do, what were the different like opportunities that I was interested in. But to be honest, like I feel like all of these different challenges just made me who I am. Like it really brought a different unique perspective together. Like I feel like I'm a very strong independent person after living in the US on my own for the last 7 years. Being away from family was definitely very challenging, but it really helped me kind of like be there for myself, and also just like making my own network. I
Mhm.
made a lot of different friends, a lot of like really really nice people came along my journey throughout the last 7 years. And then after just working and just studying, I just wanted to know like, okay, what's the next step in my career? So just applying for these graduate programs, getting into Northwestern, and then just having that mindset of like, okay, what's next for me? How do I keep on building, and how do I keep on learning, but how do I also keep on growing in my career and my future journey? So I'm really excited to see where this takes me, and I honestly think challenges makes you who you are. So if there were not really any challenges, the journey wouldn't have been this fun.
Absolutely, very well said. And with the right support and determination, I think we can all clear our hurdles. And just like Karan, he was able to continue with his academic and professional journey. It's really inspiring so far. So we will definitely keep unfolding his story. But I think we should quickly take up a question from our folks out there. This should be from Firstly, if it's fine. And do you think applicant who previously refused 2 years actually have a better chance securing F1, especially since time has passed and pushing the circumstances? Yvette, what do you have to say?
I would say certainly if someone is applying multiple times in a row, the chances of them getting a visa are lower and more time that has passed is better. But determining whether or not you have a better chance actually matters based on your profile and your overall circumstances. So it is better to wait some time before applying again if you have multiple refusals. However, it's not a guarantee of a visa. That really depends on your circumstances at the end of the day.
Okay. Firstly, thank you so much for your question. And I think you should definitely go get a consultation booked as well, with Udeti if you want to have further questions. And don't forget to use IT people for a 15% off. Also, we have Yvette's contact details on the screen. You can note it down. And now let's take up Jatin. And Jatin is also asking, we'll just quickly take this one. Recently, a lot of officer got lazy. Okay. They do not want to approve someone who never travel abroad. Even their first question is about travel history. They want 18-year-old to travel far away. What do you think about this? This is crazy.
So, what you may perceive as laziness could be efficiency, but I can also see how you could perceive it as laziness. It could be considered laziness, but with 120 applicants a morning, adjudication expectation, consular officers tend to put people into buckets. And it's efficiency, but I definitely understand what you mean about laziness. It's very difficult to adjudicate these cases. There are marker questions. How many admits did you receive for F1 visas? What's your travel history for B1, B2? Where if you answer a certain way, you progress to a different question. So sometimes that first initial question could be a way to filter applicants by the consular officer. Travel history simply shows that you have a little bit of change to travel the world, which gives them insight into your finances. So that's something that they can see based on passport stamps and visas. And it's one of the only things they're able to see in terms of your finances because they don't rely on documents too much. So that's why consular officers look at travel history. I hope that cleared up a little bit for you.
For sure. Thank you so much, Jatin, for your question. And if you have more, you can feel free to keep commenting. All right. So let's get back to Karan. Karan, tell us more. 7 years, how does it feel? How did you, I mean, let's compare like Karan 7 years back and Karan now.
Yeah, I would be like, I'm definitely a very different person. So as Yvette was talking about like travel history, like when I was leaving for the US, like it was the first place I was ever actually traveling to, first time leaving the country, first time actually stepping out of my comfort zone. And then for me, like I was a very, very naive, very, very studious, very, very like to the book person, but I would say I'm still very much like that. But I also have a very different personality. Like I'm able to talk to people, I can connect to people. I understand the US culture a lot better. I know all about sports. Like you can talk about Chicago Bears, or if you want to talk about any other football in the US. I'm also able to like learn and also just connect to people a little bit more, whether if it's about politics, global politics, any issues in the world. And for me, I feel like for my career itself, like just being in the US early on in my life was very beneficial. Like when I was working, just being in a corporate setting, being able to like present my views, being able to like present what I've learned in an undergrad degree from a top university was very much like well perceived in a corporate setting. And then just my overall track record has really helped me just get from a Miami University, which is still a great university, to like Northwestern. And then obviously for me, like sky's the limits from here. So I'm really looking forward to like seeing how I can keep on taking this journey to the next level. But I would say, yeah, like very different person, but I'm one thing that I don't forget is like I always gotta stay grounded. So my parents, my family, my support system is very, very good. So I'm really lucky and fortunate in that sense. And then for me, just being in India right now, being able to connect with my family and take a little bit break from my crazy career, my different opportunities that I was exploring. I think it's really, really nice to have this break in my life. So just really enjoying this and looking forward to what's coming up next.
Okay. And when you finally returned to India for your visa renewal, you were placed under 221G. Can you maybe walk us through it and tell us what the experience was like and how did you manage it?
Yeah, for sure. So yeah, as I said, I came to India in August of this year, and I did like a Dropbox visa renewal for my F1. So what I did is like I dropped off all my documents, my passport, my I-20, and it went to the Chennai consulate for further processing and approvals. So once that happened, in a few days after, like 2 days after, I got a notification saying that your visa was refused. So once I got that, I was panicking, panicking a little bit because I wasn't really sure what the word refused means. So I did a lot of research. I looked into Reddit, a lot of different resources online, and then from a bunch of research, I found out like that means that there's some questions that the visa officer has regarding my profile that they would like to get it clarified, whether if it's by interview or whether if it's by sending them further documentation to prove something. So I waited to get my passport back to my address, and then in a few days, once I got my passport back, it had a 221G slip in it, which said that I need to come in for a visa interview any day other than a Wednesday to the Chennai consulate. So I was literally in Punjab. I booked my flights the day after and flew across the country from Jalandhar all the way to Chennai the next day. And then I was like, I just want to get this done and also want to like make sure that I have everything in my control. So I flew all the way across the country to show up for my visa interview. I would say it was definitely very nerve wracking because for me, like I had everything figured out, but this one visa stamp was the last thing that I needed to do. And also just thinking about like everything that I have done, all the struggles, but all the good things that have come into my life in the last 7 years and all the good things that are coming up. So I was definitely a little bit nervous. So I think Yvette and Udeti's services were very, very beneficial there. Um, as she said, like just being able to like articulate myself into like what do I need to say when a visa interviewer asks me a question and just making sure that I answer the question to the best of my capabilities. So I think that was the number one thing that I needed to work on. And I just got that boost in confidence after talking to Yvette and Udeti. So for me, that 30 minutes really, really changed everything. And then in the morning, I went to the Chennai consulate, went for my interview, and it was definitely very nerve wracking because there were so many people and everybody going through the same scenario. But for me, I was always confident and already confident because I went through a similar interview for my F1 back when I was doing this for Miami University. So I had that confidence that I know what questions I'll be asked, and I had confidence from Yvette. So pretty much I went all in and was like, I can do this, and I believed in myself. And then after a few questions at my interview, I was told that my visa was approved, and I just got my passport back in mail this week. So I'm very excited and looking forward to going back to the US and also just pursuing my master's at Northwestern, and just really, really excited to see how this next part of my journey unfolds.
I'm excited for you too, and all the best, So, looking forward, maybe next time we hear from you, we can hear more about your success and your journey. So, it'll be really good to maybe have you back the second time, maybe from there. Who knows?
Yeah,
But
for sure.
also, Yvette, do you have anything to say?
Yeah, so at this point, I think I'll say so. Karan actually recommended a friend of his who was also in 221G administrative processing, and she was going back for her master's at
Mhm.
Georgetown. So you
Mhm.
would think that she would have a little bit of an easier time at the window considering they're going to big schools. But I talked to her and I talked to other people who have been 221G refused. So even though Karan had a couple of questions, you can expect a little bit more questions. So I'll go through at this point and ask some of the questions you might get when you go back for a renewal after you have spent some time in the United States on your F1 visa. So questions could be, what's the purpose of you going back? Your original visa was issued back in 2018 for undergraduate study. Did you complete it? Please hand over your I-20s from undergrad. What was the purpose of your undergraduate education? How did you fund it? Are you done paying off those loans? How are you currently funding your master's? Who's paying off those loans? What does your parents do? What are their salary? And your visa expired in this date. Why did you wait to come back? Why did you not come back at that point to renew it? Why are you waiting until a year later, even though they could technically stay in the US on an expired visa and remain in status? The consular officer still asks this question. How many semesters do you have to graduate, or what is your master's program like, depending on your circumstances? What's your current GPA if you're in the middle of a program? And what was your GPA in undergrad? They may ask for both those transcripts. What are your plans after completing your studies? And if you've been on OPT, had internships or any sort of jobs, please explain what those are. Do you have employment letters? Do you have any tax documents? So as you can see, there's a lot of questions. And for example, if you have a huge student loan from undergrad that you haven't paid off, and now you're going for a master's program that's really expensive, even if it's an excellent master's program. I know consular officers who've refused people going to Harvard because that person couldn't explain the legitimacy of the loan that they took out, for example. So those are just some of the things I just wanted to add for our viewers or watchers. Thanks.
Very helpful. Thank you so much, Yvette, for those questions. Because, when people prepare, I mean, folks out there prepare for themselves for interviews, they have all these questions. What are they going to ask? How do I prepare myself? So I'm sure that would be very helpful. Thank you, Yvette, once again. Well, come back to you, Karan. You were talking, you were saying earlier. So if you could actually be more specific, maybe what tips Yvette gave you particularly to be cautious about.
Yeah, I would say like Yvette gave a really, really good list of questions. So when I was like preparing for my interview, I definitely prepared all of these questions. I would say like some of the tips that she gave me was like definitely around confidence, just like try to connect to the visa interviewer, like don't just use jargon or like say words to like say words. So I feel like when I was talking in my answers, like I was giving a little bit more like to the point, like a lot more bookish answers than like trying to connect to the visa interviewer. So it didn't feel like that honest, or like didn't feel like it was coming off like a conversation. So for me, like I just wanted to make sure that the answers that I was giving was like very, very conversational. I'm being to the point, but also just addressing the question. and not giving up too much, and not like leaving the answer to a lot of assumptions. So I think a
Okay.
lot of the questions they talked about, actually I got like five of those. Like some of the questions I was asked was like, what was your undergrad GPA, when did you graduate, why are you going for Northwestern, what will you specialize, why are you going to be doing this right now, who's going to be funding your education. So just like being honest and just making sure that all your answers are like to the point and just being confident. So I feel like a lot of people lose that confidence. There's also a lot of nerves with you that day, and a lot of people also just forget like, okay, why were you doing this, and why are you like actually going for this program. And it's as simple as just looking into your SOP, like statement of purpose, and be like, okay, this is why I applied for this program. And the day of, just like making sure when you're actually talking to the visa interviewer, just being confident and honest and to the point, is I would say all the different tips that I received from Yvette.
Okay. Thank you so much. I mean, for giving us that sneak peek into your journey before, appearing for the interview with, and Yvette got you prepared for it. So, totally, I'm sure you recommend Udeti to everyone out there watching us. Do you?
Yeah, 110%. I feel like if anything, um, you at least know what the visa interviewer is thinking. And I feel like just having a third person in the room who totally has that experience of like interviewing thousands of people who have gone through a similar process in the past is very helpful. And then just getting like honest feedback on like, okay, if you're saying this, like it's actually not coming off the right way that you're trying to portray the answer to be. And then just getting feedback on like, okay, this is how you can say the answer, and like this is how you can portray yourself in a better way to make sure that what you're trying to say actually comes off right. So I think
Mhm.
Yvette and Udeti's services are very, very beneficial from that end. And also just like being prepared for the interview, just like understanding like what all documents do you need, understanding like what the visa interviewer might be thinking and what might be going on in their head, and just like knowing the ins and outs of like what you can expect the day off. I think for me, I like to be very well prepared. So just having all of that really, really helped me like just be calm and myself the day of the interview. So
Yes, you
yes, to all the
definitely.
viewers. Yeah, I was gonna say yes to all the viewers. Definitely reach out to Yvette and Udeti and we use your services.
Yes, definitely. Thank you so much for that. And when you do, friends, don't forget to use IT people. It's the promo code for you to get a 15% discount. All right. So,
Thank you so
also, like,
much.
uh, sorry.
I was just thanking him for that feedback. Thank you.
Okay. And well, I thought I have another question I would ask Karan, if that's okay. I would like to know, how did you navigate your time on OPT and STEM OPT, while working on a top firm like Deloitte? And what strategies did you use to maximize these opportunities?
Yeah, of course. So I would say like on an F1 visa, like there's definitely a really, really good opportunity of using your OPT and STEM OPT. For me, like as soon as I graduated, or even more, like even before, I was definitely very interested in hands-on learning experiences. So I always wanted to like use the experience, use the knowledge that I've gained in the classroom to an actual outside the world, outside in the real world scenario. So actually doing a lot of projects in classes, doing projects with different companies in college really helped me kind of get that perspective. And as soon as I graduated, I was very lucky to have a very, very good offer to go work at Deloitte and the analytics side of consulting in Chicago. So for me, when I was navigating that, it was definitely a very challenging time because it was COVID, and 2020, 2021 was very difficult to find good jobs and like find good opportunities. And for me, like one thing that really, really helped me was like just being resilient and being consistent. So for me, I applied to a lot of different jobs. every single day. But what ended up working out for me was like the network that I built and just the connections that I had. So one of the things that really worked out for me was like reaching out to an alum of Miami University who was working at Deloitte, and he also had a very similar background of like having engineering degree and then going into consulting. So I reached out to him on LinkedIn, had a call with him, had a coffee chat, and then he ended up recruiting me from Miami of Ohio in near Cincinnati, Ohio, to come to Chicago and like work at the very good top firm in the world. So I was very lucky and very excited for this opportunity. So as soon as I moved to Chicago, I was excited to like use my learning opportunities from school and see what all I can learn. And for me, OPT and STEM OPT really helped out in that way, because getting that 3 years of experience from Deloitte and actually leveraging that time well was very keen for me to go into the master's program as well. And at Deloitte, I did so many different things. I worked on some of the top technology clients in the world. I worked with people all across the world, had teams in Netherlands, India, Australia. I was actually the youngest consultant in my team of 200 people. So definitely felt like I had a lot of responsibility on my shoulders. So that really helped me kind of navigate my career and understand like what do I actually want to do. And at Deloitte itself, I was able to find my passion in product management and passion for technology. So I feel like that 3 years of OPT, STEM OPT really helped me understand like what do I want to do in the future. So after getting that experience, I'm really excited to move into Northwestern now and get like my master's degree. And after graduating, I'm looking forward to seeing how I can use that experience in my bright future, hopefully soon.
That's really amazing. I just wanted to say what, an impressive, articulate young man you are, and how me and Napasa are probably both very impressed at your level of dedication, emotional intelligence, and, just overall, I think we both met a lot of people. So I just want to give you that compliment. That's very inspiring for people. So I think that's why it's important. The question I have for you is, in high school, you said that you didn't really believe in yourself as much until you scored the highest, and now you are an overachiever. But I kind of believe that seeking external validation can be somebody's downfall eventually if they don't achieve what they
Mhm,
hope to achieve.
mhm,
And even though it gives you so much validation and confidence, it just takes maybe one thing in life to feel like maybe did I do well enough? So my question to you is have you found that internal belief in yourself, or do you still feel like achievement is giving you that gratification that you're looking for? I'm just curious.
No, I would say I've definitely found that, because for me, like in the last 2, 3 years, were definitely I was achieving a lot of things, but it was also like at the stake of like not being able to see my family, like not being able to be with them, like not being able to be there for my sister's graduation. So I feel like all these gratifications were helpful for me, like to be in the mindset that I was, that I want to achieve something in my career. But outside of that, like when I was looking at me as a person, I was losing a lot of good moments with my family, and also just losing that important touch in that important years with my family. So I feel like I did a lot of like self retrospection in the last 2 years, like as you said, like just having that gratification from what's next, like getting something done, achieving something, and then like figuring out, okay, what else can I do, was definitely the mindset that I had when I was 20, 21, like very young, graduating from a good college in the US. But I feel like once you actually are in the real world, once you're independent and like working for a big company, but actually in the zone where you don't have somebody like telling you what to do, you don't have like a set career path or like a set journey, that really helps you like kind of be that person, to understand like, okay, what do you actually want in life. So I did a lot of self retrospection in the last few years. And for me, like now, all of these things that I've accomplished is just like something that I worked really hard for. But for me, now what I seek is like real connections and real values and real moments with my loved ones. So for what I wanted to do in the last 1.5 months was like to just connect with everybody that I've not been able to see, and just get that motivation from the people rather than the end results. So I think that kind of worked really well for me in this last 1.5 month, and I feel really, really motivated, really, really looking forward to see like, okay, now what can I do for these people? Like, how can I support these people? My family is what motivates me. My friends is what motivates me. So I'm excited to keep on building those relationships and just be very mindful that, okay, like if I want to do something next, like what else am I missing out on, just because I want to do this one thing that might be um, like loving and good in this one moment, but it might be something that I regret in the future. If that makes sense. Sorry, it's a very deep answer.
No, I love it. That's amazing.
It's
I love
true.
that answer. I'm glad that you were following and were able to respond to my kind of complex question. So love that. Thank you. I think back to Napasa now.
Yes, lovely, and it's truly very inspiring, to see you achieve, and you're sharing your story with us today. It's really great, and like Yvette was saying, you're an overachiever, but I would say you are. I mean, also that, but you are so sorted. Like you know already from now, 2 years from now, where will you be, or what you want at least. I mean, most of us we have a hard time figuring out our week, or even the weekend for the matter. So hats off, really. It's really good to stay focused, know what you want, and yeah, stay inspired. And thank you so much, Karan, for this, really. So also maybe Yvette, if you could, I think my next question to you would be, what are the key factors that consular officers look for during F1 visa renewals, especially for students who have spent an extended period in the United States?
All you can do is submit your I-20 and have a good DS-160 that explains your time in the United States. If the consular officer has any additional questions, like I said earlier, they'll just call you in for an interview. It's nothing to be feared as long as you have all the proper documentation and a DS-160 that is clear and concise and not overly rambly. Hopefully that'll be enough for the consular officer. But if you've spent an extended period of time in the United States, probably you will be called in for the interview. So just do what you can to avoid it. But if you go in for the interview, be prepared, because like I said, you can be called in for 221G even for minor questions. So long stays in the U.S. generally generate a interview.
Right, right. Thank you, Yvette, for that. And moving on now, again, back to you, Karan. So, Karan, talking about the interview now, what was your mindset when you got in, during that in-person visa interview after being in this 221G? And how did you, prepare yourself? And what advice would you like to give others who are watching us right now in a similar situation?
Yeah. So as I said, like my timeline was very, very like rushed. I kind of got my 2 to 1G slip on a Friday. I reached out to Yvette for a counseling appointment the Monday. The Monday morning, I actually flew across the country from Punjab to Chennai, and it was an 8 hour flight and a few hour delays and like layovers and whatnot. So I reached in Chennai around 9 p.m. And then as soon as I got into my hotel, I got settled, and in about an hour and a half, I had a conversation and a counseling appointment with Yvette. So through throughout, I was actually very well prepared. I thought through like all the different questions. I thought through like what all was I gonna be asked. But I was definitely a little bit nervous because everything was kind of dependent on this one visa stamp. And then I also had like a lot of different timelines kind of built into like my travel back to the US, and then like just getting ready for my orientation and all the classes. So definitely had some of that nervousness that like what if it gets rejected, or what if I have to like show up again. So things were creeping in my head. And then the day of my interview, I uh, actually, after talking to Yvette, I was very confident, and like I kind of took that confidence with me to bed. And then the day of my interview, I woke up early, tried to get to the consulate like an hour before, and then went in like as soon as they opened. So as I was going in, I was seeing all these different people. I was seeing all the different nervousness and all the smiles and all the cries, just so many different emotions in the room. So that also made me happy and scared a little bit. But I'm not sure if people have seen Ted Lasso here, but they have a really, really good motivating kind of poster there, which is like, which says just one word, like believe. And for whatever reason, that one word just kept on coming into my head, that I gotta believe in myself. I gotta stay confident and just like get it done. So I feel like at that point, as I was like approaching the line, I just like didn't think of anything and just had that word believe in my head. And as I approached the counter, I just went in and I was like, you can ask me anything. I haven't done anything wrong. I definitely have a pretty good track record, and I'm looking forward to like getting this done. So as soon as I got there, I was asked like, what was your undergrad GPA, and where are you going and why are you going there? And as I answered those confidently, I feel like the visa interviewer also kind of got a little bit more understanding on like why I was asked to come in for an interview and like what's going on. And then after the last question was like, who's going to be funding your education? After I answered that question, I was told that, hey, your visa got approved. And I can't believe, I was like really, really happy. I asked the officer that, hey, do I need to put my fingers anywhere, like am I done? And she was like, congrats, you're done, you're good to go. And I was like really, really happy after that. So I feel like it was definitely so many different emotions that day. But as I said, just having that confidence and just like knowing that you can get it done was something that was very, very important, and something that really, really helped me the day of.
Very nice, very nice. So maybe, Yvette, would you like to give out some more tips maybe to folks out there to prepare themselves and maybe gain more confidence before the interview?
So, for the minority of students who find themselves in a position of going for a bachelor's degree first and then a master's degree, a couple of tips, or even if they go for H-1B in the future. First and foremost, always use your visa well. Never have unauthorized employment that you could potentially get reported for. Never steal anything, because minor arrest records will show up and it happens more than you think. Never try to find OTP or STEM OPT with companies that are not legitimate, or pay training organizations that you don't have direct referrals for to get jobs, because there's a lot of scammers out there that may say, hey, pay me $3,000, you'll do some training, we'll give you a placement, and that placement isn't real. And now you have on your record a company that does not exist. So all these things can be major hurdles. And you hear Karan was confident because he did everything well and appropriately. Karan actually also paid off most of his loans through his OPT and had a plan for paying for his master's program. So if you're going for an undergrad and you have a lot of loans and then you have not paid those loans off and you're going for a master's program, then finances are going to be a major issue. So these are just some tips when you are going back that may prevent you from having problems with your H-1B or your F-1 visa renewals. So I hope that's helpful.
Thank you, Yvette, for those tips. Absolutely, that would be very helpful. Also, now moving on, now, Karan, my next question to you is like, you're now set to continue your journey at Northwestern University, pursuing a master's in engineering management. So, what motivated you, to take this next step, and how do you see it enhancing your career?
Yeah, for sure. I would say like just being at Miami University and like being around people from some of the top places, some of the top cultures, and like a lot of different smart people in my career have helped me like understand what I want in my life. So I feel like after being at Deloitte, after actually founding a smaller kind of startup product at Deloitte, I really, really enjoyed that journey of being able to like start something from scratch and like leading something from end to end. So for me, like having that technology background, but being able to be that bridge between business and technology was always very, very important. So as I was thinking through, like, okay, what's the next step in my career? I could have stayed at Deloitte and like just be a manager and like kind of kept on going towards the route and like kept on jumping the next part in my career, next tier in my career ladder. But I wanted to use this time well to actually accomplish something and like leave an impact. So at Northwestern, I'm very, very looking forward to like actually working on a lot of different products and like starting something of my own, and also just using the great background and connections and like working with professors from some of the top companies in the world. I really am looking forward to learning from them and also having that as part of my future board of directors in whatever company I found. So for me, this is like kind of a bet on myself. I want to use this experience to see what can I learn, what else can I grow myself in, and like what can I like leave behind when like I go after so many years in this world. So for me, I think this is a very, very much once in a lifetime experience and once in a lifetime opportunity. So I'm looking forward to getting those very important technical skills, but I'm looking forward to gaining these management, leadership, and also just emotional skills from people and the professors that I'll be working with.
So lovely, so lovely. All the best for all your future endeavors. I would say academics or non-academics, all the best really. And we really hope to see you succeed more and more. So Udeti, why did you choose Udeti and what would you like to tell folks out there? Why should they also go check out Udeti?
Yeah, I would say Udeti is like one of its kind service in this whole like kind of wide world, because like having Yvette with that experience of being an ex visa interviewer after interviewing so many people, like knowing what kind of goes in the people's head, like what is that red flag that the visa interviewer might be looking for. How do you actually fill out your DS 160? How do you like um, put your best foot forward? I feel like just having that um, kind of counseling, but also like you're somebody who can guide you through that process is very helpful. And
Hmm.
Yvette, I know that you have also like written a lot of really, really informative blogs about like end-to-end process on like F1 visas, different categories of visas, and like what kind of documentation are they looking for, what is like DS 160, what are some of the do's and don'ts in filling that form, and also just understanding like what is something that can kind of get you that 2 to 1G, but also like some of the other categories of refusals that are offered by visa interviewers. So I think Udeti's services end to end is like one of its kind, and something that I highly recommend to people just to understand like what might be kind of going the day off in your interview, but also just preparing yourself beforehand and kind of giving your best foot forward and best shot at the visa interview. Because as Yvette said, like as you keep on getting a refusal after refusal, it's very, very hard to get the same visa stamp, especially if you don't have anything changed in your profile or like anything changed in your documents. So I would say definitely use the service now so that you don't regret not putting your best foot forward in the future.
Right, right. And Udeti, I'm sure you have enhanced Karan's journey greatly. And here he is with his success story. I'm so happy that we could do this today. So far, so good. And I'm sure we'll have a lot more to get to know. I mean, once Karan is also there, we'll love to know about your products and who knows, use them also in the future if we have a chance. But also to Yvette, maybe my next question to you is uh, in Karan's case, how does sending an extended time in the US, on an F1 visa affect his renewal prospects, visa renewal prospects?
So I would say that spending an extended period of time in the United States is always going to be a cause for question. And for some people, it's totally understandable. I went to undergrad, then I went to OPT. And for others, they may need to be doing a little bit more explaining. So I would say it's really case by case. But if you have spent a long time in the US on an F1 visa and then you're going to go back for a master's or a PhD, just definitely expect to be called in. Like I said earlier, just be prepared with a pristine DS 160, your I-20, and have a have the time in the United States that you are spending be all legal and without any cause for concern, and your renewal chances are going to be a lot better. So,
Great, for sure. So, in order to have a smoother renewal process, and I'm sure you have your status and you have doubts about how should you go forward, it's always best to consult an expert, and definitely you should also contact Udeti. You can contact Yvette Bansal, former US consular officer, and her number is scrolling on the screen. And I would like to wrap up today's session. So Yvette and Karan, maybe have an end note from your end. Let's go with Yvette first. What would you like to say to folks out there?
yeah, so I would just say that I don't know. I have a lot of thoughts in my mind, but I would just say, prepare for your visa interview. There's lots of resources on udetivisa.com, the blogs that we have. So if you can prepare on your own, that's totally fine. I love all the plugs here today, but we do have a lot of free resources too. So don't, feel obligated. I just want to, congratulate Karan on the story that he shared, and thank you guys for hosting me and him, and I appreciate it. Until next time. So thank you for the informative session here.
Thank you, Yvette. But before we go, I have an interesting question from our team as well. So, how many visas have you rejected in your career, Yvette? And if you have any major reasons, it'll be really nice.
Probably rejected. I don't know if I can guess, maybe at least 10,000, maybe 15,000 visas rejection.
Oh,
I would say maybe more. It depends. A lot of the visas I adjudicated were interview waivers, as well as in person. So there's a high visa rejection rate in India, and the major reasons for rejection are purpose of unclear purpose of travel and finances.
all right. Thank you. Thank you. That was from, all right. So now let's go on to Karan. What do you have to say as an end note?
Yeah, thank you again for having me, and thank you for just like letting me tell my story to this world. So I'm really looking forward to hopefully inspiring at least one student, and hopefully somebody looks at this video and is looking very excited and looking forward to their journey in the US and looking forward to what all they can accomplish. So one thing I would say is like sky's the limits, and take this opportunity to study in the best country in the world the best way you can, and just never look back. And you've done so many things to be where you are at, and also have kind of done everything right until this moment. And this F1 visa will also be in your pockets as long as you do your best and as long as you put the best foot forward. So don't be nervous, have confidence in yourself, and sky is the limit. And I'm sure you're going to do great in the US. And thank you again for having me, and I'm looking forward to seeing a lot of people from the viewers in the US and hopefully getting to talk to some of them soon.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Karan, for joining us. And here's wishing you all the very best for all your future endeavors. It was great having you here. And definitely your story is truly very inspiring. And thank you so much, Yvette, as well, for giving all those tips. Very helpful. I'm sure folks out there are excited and are already feeling a little more confident, after watching us here in this webinar. So thank you once again. And folks, if you want to contact Udeti Visa and contact Yvette Bansal, former US consular officer, to get yourself more prepared for visa interviews, call on this number 630-303-6165, and you can even email her. That is, note down the email address, yb@udetivisa.com, and go visit udetivisa.com for more details. And to book a consultation with Udeti Visa experts, use this promo code IT People. You can see it on top of our screen, and you'll definitely get a 15% off on using this promo code. So thank you so much, folks. Thank you for joining. Thank you, Yvette. Thank you, Karan, once again. And here's wishing you all a happy weekend ahead and hoping to see you again very soon on Immigration and Jobs Talk Show.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you, friends, for joining us wherever you're watching us from on YouTube, LinkedIn, or Facebook. Thank you. And don't forget to subscribe to us. Our channel is Immigration and Jobs Talk Show, not only on YouTube, but also on LinkedIn and on Facebook. Connect with us. It'll be very nice. And don't forget to hit the bell icon to, be updated whenever we have discussions like these, webinars like these. And also feel free to contact me. My number is 408-335-6444 regarding any sort of immigration questions. And also remember that we also sponsor H-1B visas. And my email address is nipa@higheritpeople.com. And to get to know more about us, go check us out at www.higheritpeople.com. Bye-bye for now. This is Nipasa Pradhan signing out of Immigration and Jobs Talk Show.
Consultant seeking a new opportunity? We offer job placement services for US citizens, green cards, EADs, and visa holders. We also sponsor various work visas like H-1B, E3, TN, and green cards. 20 plus years of experience in the industry. Exceptional employee benefits. Highly rated by our employees. Global presence with 200 plus recruiters and direct clients. Connect with us. Call us in the number 408-335-6444 or mail us at nipa@higheritpeople.com